Hello, this is Andrew Hunt, and today I'm going to read James chapter 2, verses 14 through 26. And I'm going to tell you what I've learned, or what I'm learning from this passage, and what it means to me in terms of living a different life. These set of verses takes a minute, so bear with me. I'm reading from the NASB if you want to read along. What use is it, my brethren, if someone says he has faith, but he has no works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is without clothing and in need of daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace and be warmed and be filled," and yet you do not give them what is necessary for their body, what use is that? Even so, faith, if it has no works, is dead, being by itself. But someone may well say, "You have faith, and I have works. Show me your faith without the works, and I'll show you my faith by my works." Okay, you believe that God is one. You do well. The demons also believe and shudder. But are you willing to recognize, you foolish fellow, that faith without works is useless? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up Isaac his son on the altar? You see that faith was working with his works. And as a result of the works, faith was perfected. And the scripture was fulfilled, which says, "And Abraham believed God, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. And he was called the friend of God." You see that a man is justified by works and not by faith alone. In the same way, was not Rahab the harlot also justified by works when she received the messengers and then sent them out by another way? For just as the body without the spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead. Okay. For me, this passage makes me grow up. I'll explain. I'm reminded of when I was in grade school, and I would exaggerate and brag that I could do some incredible thing, like run extremely fast or do 100 push-ups. And my friends would say, "Oh yeah? Then do it." And I'd say, "I can do it. I just don't feel like doing it right now." I don't know if you can relate. Because, of course, I couldn't really do it. I was lying to my friends, and honestly, back then I was lying to myself, even if I didn't always admit it to myself. So now, every time I read this, it really hits me. Do you really have faith? Or are you just lying to yourself and God? Are you just exaggerating your faith and how much you believe and how much you trust God? And so it hits me. Now, when I need to actually do something beyond talking or thinking about it, I think, okay, this is when my faith kicks in. When I was young, listening to what my parents told me to do or strongly suggested that I do something, that was the first real chance for my faith to kick in. For me to do without fully understanding or maybe even agreeing meant that I had to trust God, and that trust that God was still there to protect me and guide me. I had to trust that God was talking through my parents, or maybe he would protect me from what I thought were foolish parents in my arrogance. But I had to trust that God was there. In my head and in my words, I trusted God. Oh yeah, I trust God. And I trusted that God is always with me if I'm trying to do his will and obey my parents. But then I had to actually do it for my faith to be proven out. It wasn't enough to just say I trust God. It had to kick in. This passage challenges me that my faith has to kick in and show up in my actions. And the references to Abraham and Rahab at the end, they were essentially alone, and they couldn't get credit or accolades for their awesome faith works. That reminds me that the vast majority of my works by faith are known only to the Lord and me. And that really changes my mindset for how I treat other people and how I obey the Lord. So I'm reminded that my faith in God, which is my belief that he is everything he says he is, that he keeps every promise that he made, and that I am who he says I am, compels me to act on it. Otherwise, I'm just that lying, bragging kid that thinks I'm something that I'm not.